How's it everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my first impressions of Diablo 4, what I've thought about it up to this point. I've just finished the campaign, I've just started the end game, but I figured this would be a good point to give you my opinion on what I think so far and whether or not you should buy it. So first of all, I'm not in any way affiliated with Blizzard. I paid full price for the game. I did get a free copy, but I couldn't refund my previous version, so I gave it to a friend. I'm also not sponsored by them. I wasn't accepted into their partner program. I didn't get early access, any of that. So these opinions are completely my own. They're not influenced by anything. But just for some background, I am a PoE player. I played all the Diablo games. I've actually played a fair amount of Diablo 3, 2. Diablo 2 being my favorite game, probably of all time. And going into this, I must admit, I was excited. I was hopeful, but I really was not expecting a whole lot. I thought it's probably going to be fun for a bit. It's not going to be that good. I'm probably just going to be disappointed, so don't get the hopes up too much, but hopefully it's a good time, at least for, 30 hours or something like that. And I must say, overall, I have been very, very pleasantly surprised with the overall game experience, especially the campaign. This game has an excellent story. It has a really, really interesting antagonist, Lilith. Lilith is like an actual manipulative demon. There's parts during the story where I was thinking, am I the bad guy? Should I be helping her? Because she actually kind of messes with your mind. The story is excellent. It's not like the Diablo 3 story where it's like Asmodan is constantly following you and being like, I am going to destroy the world. She poses interesting questions and makes you really question your own motives. So if you're going to play this just for the campaign, I would say that alone is worth it. As for the entire world and the visuals and sound, this is hands down the best looking ARPG ever. There were so many points when I was playing where I just stopped and I was like, this is beautiful. The game just looks so good. In a lot of the footage that you're going to see on YouTube, it gets compressed in a way that really doesn't do the game much justice. Once you're actually in-game, it looks really good. In terms of the sound and music, this has kind of grown on me. In my first impressions of the beta, the music, it's still, I still find it very ambient. There's not much in terms of melody and things like that, but in terms of atmosphere, it really does work nicely with the visuals on the screen. It sounds the way it looks, if that makes sense. There's not like a clash between the audio and the visual. The sound, at least, I'm playing a sorceress, level 48. That also sounds good. I remember playing the barbarian and thinking the impact sounds weren't very good. I'm not playing barbarian now, but at least for the sorceress, the sounds are good. But this is all background stuff. This is all stuff ARPG players don't care about. What everyone cares about, itemization, progression, combat, and what do I think about those? So in terms of itemization, currently it's okay. It's not amazing. I have just made it through the campaign, so this opinion will probably change once I've seen more of the endgame itemization. However, I do feel like a lot of it is overly conditional and specific. So a lot of the mods are, you deal more damage to close enemies, or you deal more damage to distant enemies, or you deal more damage to stunned enemies or crowd-controlled enemies. There's very few generic stats that are exciting. The ones that have been exciting so far are legendary affixes, so legendary mods that affect the way specific skills work. Those can be quite exciting when you pick something like that up. Also, plus level of skills, kind of like Diablo 2, plus 2 level of firewall. Those have been interesting. A couple of times during the campaign, I actually completely respect my build based on a single item I found, which I really liked. I found a unique focus, which is like a sorceress shield that had a frozen orb legendary affix. I respect my whole build just to try it out, and it was really cool. And then later on, I found something that increased the level of my firewall. I tried that. I really liked it. So from around, I think, level 20, I've been playing Firewall Meteor, and it's been really good. So the itemization, I wish it was less specific with everything, it makes it a bit hard to feel the impact of a single modifier. I don't really know how you're meant to feel the impact of some of the mods upon equipping it. It's all kind of exponential. They all stack on top of each other, and some of them are just way too specific, you know? After you have killed a frozen elite enemy, you gain plus 10% lucky hit chance to gain 2% chance to deal additional critical strike damage for 4 seconds against enemies. It's okay, it's not that bad, but it kind of feels like that, where it's just too many layers of weird, overly specific things. But I've heard good things about the endgame itemization, so hopefully it gets a bit better. This didn't really ruin the game. Also, in terms of itemization, the items look gross, man. In my inventory, in my UI, I literally cannot tell the difference between a pair of pants or a weapon or a helmet, because everything is small 1x1 icons and they're covered by sockets most of the time. So, you know, I found an item and I was like, oh sweet, a new helmet with a really good mod on it, I'm gonna put it on. And I couldn't put it on my head, and then I was like, oh, it's a shield, it's not a helmet. So that's just a personal little mini gripe. It's a bit nitpicky. I know a lot of people don't care about that, but itemization so far, we'll see if it gets better. But for now, it's kind of something I didn't think too much about. In terms of progression, the progression has been pretty decent. There is a strange point during leveling where it feels like I've put all the points into the skills I'm using, and now when I level up, I don't really know what point to allocate. There are some passives on the skill tree, but a lot of them are very small. It's like +1 point, you get +3 mana. And then if you put in another 2 points, you get another 3 mana per point. So you invest 3 points for 9 mana. It doesn't really feel that exciting. And because the skill bar is quite limited, you have your left click, right click, and I think 4 other buttons. You can't invest more into more skills because you literally do not have space for it. So in that sense, the progression starts to kind of fall off once you've got your main skills and maxed out the levels. However, there is going to be the Paragon system, and that only opens up at level 50. I'm level 48. I think a lot of more interesting progression is going to be happening there. But for the leveling, it was fine. It wasn't amazing. But the thing is, while you're leveling, you have this excellent story to follow along. So it almost felt like I was playing a story game that was an ARPG, which is a bit different from other games where you just kind of want to blast to the end. However, this was also my first playthrough. So maybe on the second playthrough, we're not really going to care about that. We're just going to skip through all the dialogue, get through the end, or I think we might even be able to remake a level 50 character after we've finished the game. Someone let me know. As for combat pretty good. I would say it's on par or slightly better than Diablo 3. I never felt like Diablo 3's combat was a problem or the main reason why that game wasn't as satisfying to play as something like Path of Exile. I think one of the primary shortcomings of Diablo 3 was always the progression. It was just too fast. You would get into that godlike status really quickly, you get fully equipped really quickly, so there was none of that sense of progression. Well, there was some, but it was just so accelerated that you didn't really get to savor it. In this game, the progression is much slower than D3, way slower. I think I played something like 24 hours over the last 3 days. I know a lot, and I'm level 48 again, and the combat felt pretty good to me. Felt pretty good. We'll see again in the end game how much it speeds up, if it gets kind of PoE tier or if it stays fairly slow and steady. I don't mind if it speeds up and gets crazy. I actually hope it does. The pace of combat currently is very slow compared to PoE endgame, and it's even slow compared to PoE campaign, I would say. But it doesn't feel sluggish. It feels quite like you're dodging around a bit more. You're thinking a bit more. Your skills do have cooldowns. A lot of the combat and the decisions I'm making are based on my mana pool, whether or not I can use a certain skill, or my cooldowns, whether or not I'm able to use a skill, or if it's on cooldown. So it is a bit more situational, but it is also very tied to cooldowns and resources, which I don't know, maybe that's the kind of combat they're going for. And it felt fine. There were times where it felt really good, where I was like cycling the buttons at the right time and everything lined up and it felt good. But I do prefer the kind of button mashy type of combat. I know that's not what everyone likes. Some people like more sort of cooldown based combat, but it's overall pretty good. And I suppose that's the overall impression. I've been very impressed. Like I said, too long didn't watch. Very, very impressive showing. The game feels very good to me. I played the whole thing on a controller. So if you are an old person with borked hands, try it on a controller. For the most part, it worked really well. There were a few issues with navigating menus and stuff, and I kept mixing up my buttons because I'm using an Xbox controller, and I just finished Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, and the buttons are all the wrong side. They kind of swapped around, so I'm still mixing up the buttons, but it's a great game for controller. If you want to just sit on a comfy chair, lean back a bit, try it on a controller. For the most part, it's good. If there's anything finicky you need to do, like inventory management or skill assignment, then you can just easily grab your mouse and it'll automatically swap over to mouse and keyboard. You don't have to log out or anything like that. So controller support is great. Now the question, should you buy the game? That's up to you. If you have issues with Blizzard, like many people do, and you would rather not give them your money, 100% fine. Of course, it's your money. Vote with your wallet. From my point of view, I think so far, at least, the game has been worth every cent, and I fully expect it to keep being fun for a while. We are going to see more seasons with hopefully league mechanics similar to not D2, PoE. So I'm expecting there will be more content. I'm actually quite excited for this game. I really didn't expect to be making this video with a positive tone to it because I was kind of expecting to feel a bit disappointed, but I feel exactly the opposite. So yeah, if you have the money, if you're an ARPG fan and you don't mind giving it to Blizzard, I would 100% recommend this. Give it a shot. You should have a really good time. But in the comments below, let me know your experience. Have you played the early access one that you have to pay an extra $20 for, or are you waiting for the release tomorrow on the 6th of June? Are you excited? Have you been disappointed? Have you been pleasantly surprised like I have? Do let me know. I am going to be doing more Diablo videos until the launch of PoE 3.22. So stay tuned. Have fun. Follow me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming some more D4. I would love to see more of you there, especially from the PoE folks. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.